period. Why is you screaming? Because now I got to scream. But it's like we as a people don't want better for ourselves. We talk that shit. But then when somebody that's not our color actually come in and do the shit, then it's a problem. Even if a black person was president and they came in and did that, guess what they would have said? He a coon. What is up, what ifers? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Bo, and today we're gonna be looking at some videos on black democratic views. So you're gonna want to stay locked in, cause you ain't gonna believe this.
Separate videos of women in Memphis thanking Donald Trump for the work he's doing here by sending the National Guard here, saying shit like, oh my God, the neighborhood is so safe now. My kids are able to play outside. I haven't heard a gunshot in weeks. Thank you, Donald Trump, for sending the National Guard here and for protecting our city. You really are making America great again. You a dumb bitch, because it sounds like you live in a neighborhood that's not so good. In that same neighborhood that you congratulating him on your kids being allowed to play outside in, he's about to push your black ass out of it. He's about to go and gentrify the whole area. Why do you think he's trying to get rid of criminals, of black people, of bad seeds, so he can get the lower class people out of the lower class neighborhoods that they pushed our asses into? You get what I'm saying? To take it from us and build higher class neighborhoods and make this city into a tourist city. It's all a money scheme, and y'all dumbasses are not upset about this shit. Let's just be real, bro. Memphis is an impoverished city. Most of our citizens are a part of the lower class. You bitch, that mean your grandma, your auntie, your cousin that's poor, that's on EBT, that's getting Social Security, she finna get pushed out of her house. Because they finna tear all that shit down, gentrify it, and turn this shit into, y'all not hearing me, bro. And y'all thanking this man, and them the only videos that's going viral. The people of Memphis that are outraged are not getting heard. My video's not going past 1,000. Period. I'm like, why are y'all not upset? It's confusing me. Then they got border patrol here in a city that ain't nowhere near the border.
Okay, so I'm gonna just stop that video right there. First of all, I'm from Memphis. I currently live in Memphis. I'm on the outskirts though. But because I was able to work hard enough to get myself out of the fucking hood. First of all, me being from the hood, right? I got to say that this young lady is loud and motherfucking wrong, okay? First of all, if you were so worried, I ain't gonna even just put it on her. I'm gonna generalize this shit. If black people were so motherfucking worried about white folk coming in and gentrifying their motherfucking neighborhood, why the fuck you ain't gentrified? Because do y'all even understand what gentrification is? Gentrification comes in place when they take neighborhoods that are poverty-ridden, not taken care of, and they build it up so investors can come in and want to bring some money and jobs in. But as long as that shit stay impoverished and fucked up and nasty and ridden with crime, no money is going to come to that neighborhood. So with that being said, that means the black folks created the circle of life that we go through to this day. This is the behavior that perpetuates the YNs to come through and act a goddamn fool because it's women like this or that think like this that's perpetuating the YNs' behavior. Because it's they cousins, they baby daddies, they boyfriends, and they like, free him. Even though they know he killed somebody that was a child to somebody, a brother to somebody, a father to somebody, they still screaming, free him. No accountability, saying, well, your ass did it and you need to be locked up. But they want to sit up here and say they coming in and gentrifying the neighborhood. Well, y'all should have got a motherfucking handle on it first. That way, they would be like, well, this neighborhood is nice. Well, maybe we can bring this to the neighborhood and invest in this neighborhood because it's already nice. Don't nobody want to invest in no impoverished ass motherfucking rundown ass neighborhood. That's common sense. And I can't say that I didn't contribute to that shit, but when I got my mind right and I tried to tell my homeboys we need to do this and we need to do that, and I saw that they wasn't on that shit, I had to move away from it. I had to get away from it because these niggas was still on the hood level and they didn't want to bring the hood up. So if I can't bring up the hood with the people that I grew up with in the hood, what else is there left for me to do, nigga? Move out. But everybody worried about gentrification. Well, it's your fault that they want to gentrify it. Because these motherfucking neighborhoods ain't bringing no money to the city. They costing the city money. And y'all be like, they won't never come in the neighborhood and fix nothing because it's dangerous, nigga. The fuck you talking about? And them women should be proud that Trump sent some motherfuckers in to do something that our black ass didn't have the motherfucking nuts to do. Now it's quiet and clean and you mad because your cousin and your brother, your baby dad ass gone to jail. That's why you outraged. I ain't outraged. You know why I ain't outraged? Because my son and daughter, they go to school every day. They about to graduate high school. Because I had got them out of that situation. They don't want nothing but good for themselves. I worked hard to get them to that point. Now, I got 2 other sons that may be out there causing hell. But I told them, just like I'm going to tell y'all on this motherfucking video, that if you commit the crime, your ass going to do the time. I ain't finna go argue with no judge, no police. Hey, that's my son. Don't put your hand on my son. No, I ain't finna do that because you brought that shit on yourself. You was raised better than that. You know right from wrong, but you chose to do wrong. I'm holding that ass accountable. And I'm gonna hold this young woman accountable because she is loud and wrong. Period. Why is you screaming? Because now I got to scream. But it's like we as a people don't want better for ourselves. We talk that shit, but then when somebody that's not our color actually come in and do the shit, then it's a problem. Shit, even if a black person was president and they came in and did that shit, guess what they would have said? He a coon. Uncle Ruckus would be proud. I had somebody say that in my comments on one of my last videos. I just want people to know I don't care nothing about you calling me no coon. I don't give a fuck. Because at the end of the day, I ain't no Republican. I ain't a Democrat. I'm an independent free thinker that lean towards policy. And if the Democrats had the best policy, that's the way I would have been leaning. But in this case, they ass has been fucking up. So I lean towards the Republican policy. Not even the radical Republicans. The more conservative side of things, right? When people hear conservative, guess what they think? Racism. Racist, not even realizing that black people were Republican before they were Democrat. And when we were changed into Democrat, that's when everything went downhill from us. How many times do we have to reiterate this shit? I'm going to move on though. And in this next clip, this young man went down the Democratic rabbit hole. Let's just check the video out.
So I went down a rabbit hole on the Democratic Party. And I wanted to do it for myself because nobody could tell me how the Democratic Party could push such weird agendas and somehow still get full support from black people. And I feel like growing up, that's all we know. Vote Democratic, vote blue. I wanted to see for myself where these loyal ties come in. Let's talk about it. So yeah, let's just get into it. I'm gonna list off a couple of things. Y'all just let me know which party y'all think supported it. Slavery. The Democrats supported it. The Republican Party actually was created to oppose and reject slavery. The Democrats supported slavery. Republicans, majority of them, are the ones who went on to abolish slavery. Jim Crow laws and segregation. The Democrats supported that. The Confederate flag. When we all see the Confederate flag today, we kind of already know what that means. I'm going to kind of stay away from you. And at the time, the Confederate flag was a symbol of resistance to civil rights. The Democratic Party supported that. They came up with that symbol for us. White supremacy. Ooh, that's talked about a lot. That was founded by who? Democratic Party. Yeah. The KKK, founded by the Democratic Party. And there was actually a point in time leading up to the 1930s where majority black voters were Republican because the Republicans were fighting for civil rights. And Republicans, majority of them, were the reasons that the 13th through 15th Amendment were passed. The 13th Amendment being abolishing slavery. But in the 60s is when the party started to shift. That's when LBJ, who was a Democrat, passed the Civil Rights Act, which actually was majority supported by Republicans. Obviously, LBJ was the president, so he took the credit. This was the turning point for the Democratic Party because they pretty much embraced the civil rights identity. We're the ones that passed the Civil Rights Act. We have your best interest because we did that, and they pretty much ran with it. And then in the 80s and 90s, the Republican Party stopped focusing on race and started focusing on the economy. And that actually drove majority of the black folks to the Democratic Party, because the Democrats continue talking about race, Civil Rights Act, we do this for you, that for you. So now in the 90s, the Democrats had the majority black vote. From the 90s and up, it's pretty much the same thing. The Republican Party is majority white. The Democratic Party is majority black. But I said all of that to say this, though. I'll never be somebody that tells somebody else who to vote for. Vote for whoever aligns with your beliefs and values the most. Who I am talking to, though, is the folks that got these loyal ties to the Democratic Party and vote with blind faith just because it's Democratic. It is completely okay that the Democratic Party does not have your best interests anymore. The same way these folks didn't care about black people for a long time, and then they switched, and then all of a sudden want to act like they cared about black people all along. It's the same way you can just switch to another side because your interests have changed. You can see it in the history. People flip sides all the time. People voted for Republicans because they were doing the right thing and it was aligning with their morals and beliefs. Then they flipped to the Democrats and did that. You can do the same thing in 2025. It is okay to flip sides if one side is tripping, and the Democrats are tripping. And if the Republicans start tripping, you can also switch sides then. We got to get out of this whole one side is forever evil and one side is forever good. It's not like that, bro. Do whatever aligns with your morals, values, and beliefs, and never compromise it and vote blindly because your great grandma told you to.
Those are facts. I would never, ever be the type of person to tell somebody who they should vote for. So when I see people trying to tell me that I picked the wrong side or whatever, man, it's really ridiculous to me, because I'm like, how can you sit up here and tell me that when you sitting up here supporting a system that I don't support? I don't even support what you support. So you trying to convince me, but in the way that you do it, you try to convince me by calling me names like coon and saying that Uncle Ruckus would be proud. I actually laugh at that because that shit is funny. Just like the man said in the video, it was Republicans who abolished slavery. And that's why they have radical right and a radical left. Those are the extremists. Those are the people who really don't like black people, and even on the Democratic side, the ones that don't like black people. It doesn't matter. You have racist on both sides. That's why I don't choose a political party, because I lean towards policy. Because at the end of the day, the majority party that actually makes the decision is what gonna win, whether I choose to lean Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter. But it's like people forget that, and they want to put forth this anger and act as if, okay, you got to show this forever loyalty to the Democratic Party. You don't even have to show that loyalty to the Republican Party. Like that man said, you can switch whenever you get ready. If what they talking about ain't aligning with your ideologies and your morals and principles, you can switch. I ain't had time to be going back and forth, so I chose to be independent. When I vote independently. I do not pick a party. I lean towards policy. And I think more people should do that shit. Now, speaking on the Democratic Party, we in the midst of a government shutdown, right? So this next clip is going to tell you what is in that bill that the Democrats want the Republicans to agree with that's keeping us in the shutdown.
And they would send $500 million to liberal news outlets by refunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It would also restore up to $5 billion of American taxpayer funds for wasteful spending for international projects. Here's a couple of examples. This is in their legislation, their counterproposal on the CR to keep the lights open. This is what they want to do. They want to spend $24.6 million of your hard-earned dollars as a taxpayer for climate resilience in Honduras. They want to spend $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe. They want to send $3.9 million for LGBTQI+ democracy grants in the Western Balkans. They want to spend $2.9 million of your dollars for desert locust risk reduction in the Horn of Africa. And $2 million for, quote, organizing for feminist democratic principles in Africa. We are not doing that.
Point blank, period. Who would want them to do that? That's your tax dollars going to some straight bull crap. Straight bull crap. The shit that you work hard every day for, and they snatch it out of your check. It's going straight to bull crap. It ain't even for health care. it's all squeezed in this health care, this ACA, Affordable Care Act deal. It's all squeezed in there. And that's why the Republicans won't fold. Now, this next clip is Trevor Noah interviewing Bernie Sanders. And y'all know he's a proud Democrat. Let's just see what he says, because I'm an unbiased person, okay? I'm not against Democrats, but no Democrat should come to my channel and tell me that I'm wrong for thinking or saying what I'm saying. No, what I think and what I'm saying works for me, okay? It works for me. I don't know what works for you. And I ain't mad at you for the things that work for you. So don't be mad at me.
Yeah.
All right. It's a relatively small number of people who control the economy. That's called oligarchy. But it's not just that. How do you get the information? You're in the information business, right? Or the entertainment bit. That's what you do for a living, correct? So who owns the media? You tell me.
It's a few companies now.
That's right.
Yeah, and everything's getting consolidated. It's becoming smaller and smaller. It's fewer and fewer people.
You got it.
Yeah.
All right. So what my understanding is, you have 6 large international conglomerates, media conglomerates, that control about 90% of what the American people see, hear, and read. All right. So look, take a look. Talk about oligarchy. Mr. Musk, is that all he does is make electric vehicles? Not quite. He owns Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what about Mr. Bezos? Well, he owns the Washington Post, which is a very influential newspaper, and he owns Twitch. Oh, what about the Ellison family? Well, they just bought Paramount, which happens to own CBS movie. All right. And then you got Mr. Zuckerberg, of course, who owns Meta, which controls Facebook and Instagram. So you got 4 of the wealthiest guys in America owning us, just those. Not to mention Rupert Murdoch, obviously owns Fox, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, right-wing newspapers all over the world. You check out who owns newspapers in the United States, billionaires by and large. So you add up income and wealth inequality, concentration of ownership, control over the media. And let me throw out another one. We talked about democracy. Well, Trevor, do we live in a democracy?
People would say yes.
And the answer is yes and no. We have elections, right? So who plays the influential role in elections? All right, let's go back just to the last election. Mr. Musk, the wealthiest guy on earth, spent $270 million to help elect Donald Trump, right? $270 million, that's true.
Yeah.
And his reward, these guys.
See, Bernie is acting as if billionaires haven't helped past presidents' campaigns before. And that's just idiotic to even assume something like that, because the only difference is that Elon Musk was a popular public figure that everybody already knew about. So his support for Donald Trump wasn't a secret. I think they just mad because Donald Trump had that man's support, and Donald Trump was already a billionaire.
Don't make investments without getting something in return. True. I mean, they don't do it out of the goodness of their heart. So forget all the tax breaks and other breaks that he got. He got to run the government for 3 or 4 months and impose his right-wing extremist ideology.
He didn't run the government. He went in and did an audit and found out where they were sending that damn money. And from now on, they can't hide where they be sending this money. And this is why we still in the government shutdown. See, he's not being truthful. He's being sideways with it. He's speaking out the side of his neck to try to blame one side. And this is what I be talking about, man. If you don't listen to what they saying and connect the dots about things that happened in the past, because those didn't do anything illegal. Only thing they did was went in and found out how much money we were spending and how much wasteful money we were spending. And come to find out, we were spending so much wasteful money. And that's the reason why we are like $38 trillion in debt. I'm talking about a country, and we shouldn't be. And the reason why is because of this wasteful spending. All that money that they were sending to these different people, we could have been saving and paying towards our debt.
On the American people. I'll give you another example. There was this so-called big, beautiful bill. What happens if a Republican were to stand up and say, you know what, I looked at this bill, it ain't a good bill. And it happened. There was a guy named Tom Tillis. That name ring a bell to you? He's a senator from North Carolina, not the world's most famous senator, just kind of a typical conservative Republican. He made the mistake of actually reading the bill. And he discovered that several 100,000 people in North Carolina were going to lose their health insurance. He says, you know what? I can't support that. You know what happened to him? Literally within hours, Trump was on social media ripping the hell out of this guy. Billionaires were saying, we are going to, we got a primary opponent against you. And I think in a day, he said, forget it, I'm out of here. I'm not running for re-election. So right now, what oligarchy is about is not only controlling the economy, controlling the media, it is also controlling the political process.
Yeah.
And it's not just Republicans. Kamala Harris had some 80 billionaires contributing to her campaign. And I think that resulted in her running a much more...
That's exactly why I don't pick a side, because that's why I got to agree with Bernie right there, because she did. It was public news that she had all this money donated to her, and she still couldn't win, but still, like, what do you think those billionaires would have wanted if she had got in office? The same thing they think that Elon Musk would have wanted. But the difference is with Elon Musk is this man is a fucking computer genius. He went in, he knew exactly what he was doing. And the thing about it is that it wasn't a deal that would last forever. It was only for a year, and shit, that didn't even last a year. They didn't need a year to find out all that wasteful spending.
More conservative campaign than she should have run. It was an election that she should have won, in my view. She lost it because of conservative influence from the billionaires who told her not to speak up for working families. That's called oligarchy. Does that sound like an oligarchy to you?
It sounds like an oligarchy. The only thing that comes to my mind is that I think of an ecosystem. Any ecosystem goes out of balance when one species is sort of allowed to thrive by itself without a natural predator of some sort.
If she was a Democrat and she knew that it was billionaire Republicans trying to donate to her, she could have stopped it right then and there, especially if she knew what they wanted out of the deal. She could have stopped it right then and there and cut their wad off, but she didn't. Now in this next clip, this is a black woman who went from being Democrat to Republican, and she's going to tell you why she went.
So Donald Trump is the very first Republican who I have ever voted for in my life. I voted for him for the first time in 2020. Before that, I voted Barack Obama twice, and I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. And the only reason I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016 was because I believed that Donald Trump was a racist, and I also thought that the majority of Republicans and the people who were voting for him were also racist. Then in 2016 hit, and he won. I was so disappointed. I told my sister, I cannot believe that the country that just elected our first black president turned around and elected this man. Then my sister told me, just because people have voted for Donald Trump does not mean that they are racist. I told her, yes, it does. It absolutely means they're racist, because that's what I thought. Then I saw him as president, and I thought that he was a good leader. I think he did a good job, aside from all his mean tweets. So in 2020, I voted for him. And in 2020, I was literally undecided until that third debate with Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I saw Joe Biden get on stage, talk about all the wonderful things that he was going to do should he take office. Then Donald Trump said the same thing to him that we saw him say to Kamala Harris. If you were going to do those things, why haven't you done them? And in Joe Biden's case, he had been Barack Obama's VP for 8 years. And in addition to that, he had also been a senator. So around that time, he had about 40 years in office under his belt. And when Donald Trump asked him that question, that struck out to me, that why didn't you do all these things in 40 years? Then Joe Biden answered that question with an excuse and said the reason he didn't do it was because of the Republicans in Congress. Said also because he was the vice president. And I was thinking, so the Republicans in Congress stopped you from doing all this in 40 years? You couldn't get any of this done in 40 years? That struck out to me. And that made me vote for Donald Trump in 2020. And I remember when I was actually on my...
And that's what you call, my friends, leaning towards policies. Not because of the Republican Party. She didn't never even say whether she was Republican or Democrat. She just said he was the first Republican she ever voted for. But she voted based on the facts that was laid out in the campaign. Same way I did.
My way to vote for Donald Trump. My husband and I were in the car riding together. We started talking about the election and who we're voting for. He was voting for Biden. I told him I was voting for Donald Trump. He immediately turned the car around and drove back home, would not take me to the poll to vote for Donald Trump. So we went back home, and I returned to the poll later to vote for Donald Trump. Then we all lived under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in office. My husband got to see firsthand the incompetence of this administration. And now not only am I a Trump supporter, he is too. And I've also learned one thing about Donald Trump supporters and Republicans in general. See, it used to be, I thought they were intolerant. I thought they were the ones who were racist and closed-minded. But it turns out it was the other way around. Because when I was in 2016 voting for Hillary Clinton, I was working in a small office then. The majority of the people I was working with were Republican. They had no problem with me saying that I was supporting Hillary Clinton. They had absolutely no problem with it. Not one of those people tried to change my mind. Not one of those people treated me any differently because I thought differently than them. But the minute you turn away from that and say, you know what, I don't agree with that anymore. I don't agree with what the Democratic Party is doing anymore. I don't stand for that anymore. The minute you do that, the Democrats have a problem with it. But they're the ones preaching tolerance. They're the ones preaching acceptance. They're the ones talking about the hatred on the other side, when really the hatred is on their side.
You see, man, sensible people are making sense of what the Democrats have been doing to black people all this time. And we starting to notice a pattern. They never do anything to help us. Only handouts to keep us in check and keep us in control and at their feet. So we always need them. Whereas conservatives are preaching, get up and go get it yourself. Like, why wouldn't you want to do it? Why wouldn't you want to have your own business? Why wouldn't you want to have ownership? As black people, that's what we preach about, ownership. But the only way we're going to get that is things are put in place where we're able to go and do that. Everybody's so scared of the Republican Party because it's mostly white. And they feel like those are the racists. Y'all do know it was set up that way, right? So people can go against the Republican Party. So I'm just saying, man, people, we gotta wake the fuck up. Now, this next clip is a preacher or a reverend of some sort. He's a black man telling you how the Democrats play on black people.
Here's a riddle for you. How can systemic racism be a GOP problem when the Democrats control all of the systems in the black community? Go to Detroit, go to Chicago, go to New York. See, y'all, most politics is local. It's a concept called federalism applied to the Constitution. The federal government has limited powers in a whole lot of places. They just really just give money. But we start talking about school boards, we talk about police, talking about sheriff's departments, start talking about courts, judges, county jails, city jails, streets and garbage pickup. All that stuff's local. The local governments have a lot of power here in America. But what Democrats are very good at doing, they're good at deflecting. So when their socialist policies don't pan out, they will blame some Republican up at the State House or some Republican in Washington, D.C. Because the people down in the local areas are so ignorant when it comes down to how government functions, they buy it. So when you start talking about systemic racism, where's systemic racism? Where's the police department? Democrats control them in big cities. Sheriff's department, Democrats control them too in big cities. Public education system, Democrats control them too in big cities. And every majority black area in America is controlled by who?
Democrats.
The Democrat Party.
And that's why we have the issues that we have today. Because we live, most black people live in a majority Democratic ran city. There is no place where black people are the majority where there aren't Democrats that are in power. That's just a fact. Yes, the state may be a Republican state because the Republicans are the majority in the state. But in the city where black people are the majority, it's guaranteed a Democratic city. That's all I got to say on that. With that being said, like I always say, do what you will with that information. And remember, challenge the argument and not the person. I'll catch y'all in the next one.